Ah. Do you want to go for another half hour? We just finished the first half hour.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we have a hot air balloon being deflated.
No, being inflated.
Inflated.
Yeah, they. That's how they start out on the ground. There, if you see the guy to the left there, he's got a fan blowing.
Why is that?
Well, to blow air in, to blow the balloon up, and the fire is propane burners to create heat. So then the balloon will sustain its buoyancy with the heat.
So
Otherwise, if they turn that heat on before the balloon's inflated, it would just burn the balloon up.
yeah, but the point is that these balloons float just
Right.
because the air in them is hot.
Right.
But that means that eventually they will come down on their own.
Oh, absolutely.
Like how long before it starts to cool?
Well, well, I don't know
I mean, can you stay up for a half hour or
Oh, they're up there for hours.
hours?
Yeah, because they.
They
the
keep
flame
heating it.
Oh yeah, the flame don't go out. They constantly, every time they need to get the altitude, they give it a blast. And that's like a million BTUs.
So they have fuel.
Oh yeah, they have like depending on how big the basket is in the balloon, they'll have 2 or 3 100-gallon tanks on there. Propane. So if you took your little propane grill tank and put, say, 5 of those stacked up together, that would be one fuel tank. And they might have 3 or 4 of them in there, and they'll have them in the middle. But that's a smaller balloon, so I don't really know. I don't know enough about them to give you too much information about them. But I know if you're going for a balloon ride, if they're taking you for a ride, usually it's an hour, and then and you would think you couldn't steer them, but you can. And the way they do that by what altitude. Because at different altitudes there's different air currents, and so you need to know the air currents, and so you go for a certain altitude and it'll steer the balloon in a different direction and whatever. You can't come back to the original spot, but you can steer it basically where you want to go.
So you don't land in a suburb somewhere and you land in a field.
Yeah, they have it all figured out. I mean, where they're going to land or where they're going to go.
So is there something like a rudder or something that steers it?
Altitude steers it. That's it.
Oh, altitude. So
there's different air currents at different altitudes.
They go in different directions.
Right.
Oh, wow. See, now you've just explained something that I've often wondered about.
Yeah, it's different air currents at different altitudes, and they need to know, and they do a weather report, or they have a radio with them, and they ask what's the direction of the wind at this altitude or that altitude.
Now you went for a ride on one of these things, right?
Never.
Oh.
No.
Meaning you have no desire to go on a ride?
I just never had the opportunity, but I would go if,
Oh, you were strictly there to photograph.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Well, I was there. I flew a plane there, so I flew a fixed-wing plane and landed. That was at Dunkirk, so I landed at Dunkirk Airport. I had my camera with me, so I got out.
Meaning you flew a plane. You didn't. You used the remote control to fly a plane.
No, I flew.
You sat in a plane and flew it.
Right.
You went off the ground. Plane went off the ground.
Yeah, I got my pilot's license.
Okay. Okay.
I used to fly out of Niagara Falls. I used to fly all the time.
Okay.
So we were going to Dansville, and I didn't know they were having this event. So we were going, and then I seen these balloons floating around. So I called the tower. I go, "What's going on?" And they said they're having a balloon event. It's the whole weekend. I'm like, oh. So I used to fly to Dansville all the time, and we could call it $100 hamburger because that's how much it would cost you to fly there and back.
Meaning
from Niagara Falls to Dansville
you
and back.
pay to land?
No, you pay to rent the plane. I didn't own the plane. I belonged to a club, and I rented the plane per hour.
So for $100, you can make it to Dansville and back.
Yeah, and plus a little bit. You pay for how much time you run the airplane. So it was $50 an hour, or it was like maybe it was. I'm going to say
that would make sense. If it were 50 and it took an hour to fly there, then you land the plane, then you get off and you do something.
Right.
Get back in the plane, fly back. You just spent $100.
Yeah, so we used to call it a $100 hamburger because we'd land. walk over to the hamburger joint there. You go have a hamburger and a Coke or whatever.
Right there at the airfield, there's a hamburger
Well, there
spot?
was. You walked about a half a mile after the airport, outside the airport.
Uh-huh. How was the hamburger?
Good.
Did any of that fat from the hamburger get in your blood vessels?
I'm sure it did.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's see what else we got here. This is going to be a hard one to see. Yeah, not as hard as I thought. We have is this it's not a lava lamp.
It's a plasma ball.
Plasma.
It's the ball that you have that's sitting in your office.
Is it the same one or a different one?
Well, it's a different one.
Oh.
It's the one I got at home.
Oh. Okay.
You'll never guess what it is.
It sort of looks like a manhole cover, but it couldn't be because it's too porous.
No.
It sort of looks like a wagon wheel, but it's
not.
arced.
It's not.
It's a part from some
No. No.
some windmill.
No. the darker cross hatching that you see there is a picnic table.
So in other words, this is the picnic table?
No.
This is?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other thing is the base that holds the umbrella on top of the picnic table.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I thought it made it
Now,
interesting.
there looks like a little thing right there. What is that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Could be a piece of paper. I don't know.
Okay. Here's the band that you like to follow.
Right.
What is it? The
Freight train.
Freight Train.
Yep.
Yeah. You recommend them?
I do. They're very good. Blues and jazz.
Ah. You saw them at the Tralf, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did the photo. Well, I've seen them several of the places, but yeah, the last place was the Tralf, and they had a big event for. Well, they do different ones for like Alzheimer's, and they do. One was for. What's the name of the disease?
Oh, Freight Train is very much into giving to charity and
Well,
stuff.
that because her son has it's not Asperger's or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, stuff like that.
So they want to support the whole cause.
Well, they do, but I mean they're a good band as far as what they do. But yeah, they hold toy drives at Christmas time, and they participate in a lot of nonprofit events.
This sort of looks like colored stones.
Well, it's fish.
These are all fish?
They're all fish.
Oh, yeah, I see them. Yeah, fish, right.
Yeah, they were at the aquarium.
Oh, you're looking underground at them?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at a glass wall.
Ah,
And I said, oh, this will be interesting. So I took a picture of them. And that's a very old picture. It's probably 15, 18 years old.
what camera were you using when you took this picture?
That was actually a film camera. All I did, I scanned the negatives in to make it digital. But yeah, it was a Minolta, probably.
The one that you bought from me?
No.
No. You don't have that camera anymore.
I don't have any of those anymore. I got rid of all the film stuff.
Oh. Do you miss shooting on film?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because it's instant gratification now. You can look at your stuff, edit, do what you got to do.
All right.
This was in my backyard.
It seems heavily processed.
It's not. That's the sunset. It's just dark. The color. There was just the sun was already below the horizon, and there was these clouds that kind of look like animals. So
I could see the animals.
yeah, kind of almost looks like dinosaurs or something. But
It does. It does.
so I said, "Oh, that's interesting." The eagle.
Was this eagle having a bad day?
Oh, I don't know if he was having a bad day. He was just like, looks kind of pissed off, but you know.
How far away were you?
Well, 20 feet. Maybe 30 feet.
Did you have your camera on a tripod?
I did not.
Were there other photographers near you?
I don't recall if there was or not.
Oh,
I very rarely use a tripod. Night shots, stuff that's long exposures, but anything out in nature, it's usually I don't use a tripod.
oh. Here we have a heavily processed photo of a moose.
Yeah, that was HDR photo. Took that this past December in Newfoundland.
Mm.
That's in St. John's. That's a river. I don't know the name of the river. It was next to my stepson's house.
Would you recommend that any of our viewers go to Newfoundland?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's everywhere you look, it's picturesque. There's a lot of bodies of water, a lot of, it's just natural. There's no pollution there. There's no industry there. There's just, of course, there's cars, but I mean, there's no factories. There's nothing going on there. It's fishing industry, so it's very clean.
Now, were you near a specific city in Newfoundland?
St. John's.
St. John's. And is this city small, or is it medium or large?
It's small. It's not. Well, we were staying with my wife's son outside of the city.
Yeah.
We were probably 40 minutes away from the city, so rural area. You're out in the country. There's nothing. It's just all barren. It's just.
You didn't go into the city for anything?
Oh yeah, we did.
Oh.
We did.
What'd you go in for?
We made a trip in during a snowstorm.
Wasn't that dangerous?
It was, but we had to go because he needed a starter for his truck, so we drove the other vehicle and went into town and got it so he could replace it. And
Did you help do the replacement?
I basically watched.
Mm.
I supervised. I didn't get in there. It was too cold. I said, I'm not laying out in that kind of weather. And,
Oh, this wasn't in a heated facility that you worked on the car?
No, it was outside.
Outside?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was there snow on the ground?
There was. There was plenty. I videoed the trip to the store because it was a snowstorm and you could hardly see out in front of you.
Huh.
And the trip was basically to see my grandson for the first time. So they were 2 weeks. They just had the baby was born December 23rd. We got their
So your wife's daughter had a child?
son.
Son had a child.
Yeah.
Ah. And she was seeing her grandchild for the first time?
Yep. Both of us were. Yeah.
Ah. And were you proud?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
and the ironic
your wife
thing
was
about
married before you?
Yeah.
Okay. You ever meet her first husband?
Yeah.
What'd you think of him?
Didn't really think anything of him, but
Oh. Did he seem like a good...
I didn't sit there and have a conversation with him. I met him.
Oh,
hi,
you
hello,
just
and
just said hello, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but the whole ironic thing is this whole thing with this health issue is like, yeah, I want to see my grandson before I die, and that almost was the case, right?
So you had actually thought of that at one point.
I did.
You wanted to see your grandson before you died, and now you did.
Right.
But don't you have a son named Paul, and couldn't he have a child?
He could.
And then you want to see that grandchild.
Well, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of him, he just got accepted into the police academy, so he's going to Albany for 6 weeks training, and then he'll be a cop.
Hmm. Are you going to ask him to do you any favors?
No. Like, what kind of favor?
I got a traffic ticket. Can you
Well,
talk to your friends?
Well, he probably could, but I don't think it would. I wouldn't bother with that. I don't get traffic tickets.
Sounds like you're a man of principle.
Well, I'm not going to get him in any kind of situation, so.
Oh.
I said, just don't arrest me for marijuana.
Wait, isn't it legal?
Well, it's legal for me because I got a medical card, but it's going to be legal soon enough here.
Oh. Do you think
for
that
recreational?
think that'll improve the quality of life in New York State?
Probably.
In what way?
Money, taxes. It'll improve that way, and I think you'll keep a lot of these people that are just smoking marijuana out of prison, which is really so stupid to throw somebody in prison for smoking something that's natural, not hurting anybody. If they want to throw people in jail, throw people that are alcoholics and drinking and smashing into people and killing people with their cars, or whatever. But or the drug addicts, like look at all the money you spend on all the overdoses that happen because they're drug addicts so they spend all this money on drugs to keep them alive in case they overdose, but yet people like, not so much me, but people that can't afford, medications for themselves to keep themselves alive, well, there's no help for them. So we'll take care of the drug addict and let the people that should be taken care of, fall by the wayside, So, yeah, I don't want to even get into the politics stuff because that's, politics and religion, you can argue till you're dead, so.
Oh, so there's no point in discussing it?
Because everybody has their own opinion, so, you have yours, I have mine. You're not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to change unless you agree on the same thing. But
well, maybe you'll present me with some facts that I just can't turn away from.
Okay, well, I'm not very politically versed, so I don't think I have too many facts to share with you.
This came up when I was talking to somebody who never watches the news.
I do watch the news, though. Lately, I've been watching it.
And I mentioned to this person, why, I said, well, you don't watch the news, but what's the reason you don't? And she said, because I see things, injustices, that I can't do anything about.
Right.
And I thought, well, if that's a good reason for not watching the news, then if people thought like her during the Vietnam War,
right,
the Vietnam War would have never ended.
True.
It ended because people saw it on TV and they talked about it and said this is a bad thing.
Right.
So that's a reason to watch the news.
Well, yeah. But if you're trying to solve something, it's obvious you're not going to solve it on your own.
No.
And most of the time when I watch the news, it pisses me off that the things that happen. Huh?
Does our president piss you off?
No.
Oh.
I don't think, I mean, yeah, he might be a moron and he's not politically correct, but that's fine. I mean, I think he's getting things done. Everything might not be like any presidency. They all promise this, that, and the other thing, and whatever the agenda is, it gets done. Whether it's a farce or not, I don't know. I don't think the economy has gotten any worse or anything overall in this. If anything, it's got better according to what they're saying. Unemployment, so on and so on. Healthcare and everything is supposed to be improving, but who really knows? They could be just blowing smoke up everybody's ass. I don't know. What pisses me off?
Let's hear it.
The snow plowing.
You mean you would like the streets to be snowplowed better?
No.
Worse?
No. I would like them to snow plow when they need to snow plow, not just because they have to.
You mean you see trucks out there on a day that they don't need to be out there?
Constantly, especially out my way. I'll be, there's barely 10 snowflakes in the air, and there's nothing on the ground, and here comes a plow, dragging the plow, sparks flying. I'm like, what is he plowing? So I did a little further investigating.
Oh.
So then I called the town. I go, so could you please give me some understanding of why you're plowing and there's nothing on the road? And then when we have a lot of snow, then they're nowhere to be found. What is the deal?
Okay.
Well, they have to plow in order to keep their budget. So if they're not out, they lose their budget for the following year. So that's the only reason. So they're creating potholes, scraping the ground, doing all that crap, only because so they don't lose the budget.
Wow.
You'd think they could defer that somehow. Say, well, if we don't plow, let's put that money into something else, and then. But I don't get it. I just don't understand this reasoning.
I can understand your confusion.
And it pisses me off. Every time, my wife will even attest to that. She says, every time that plow goes by, I'm like, what are they plowing? And it hasn't changed in the 18 years I've been there.
Do you get more snow in Gasport, less, or the same amount as like in the city of Buffalo?
No, we get less.
Oh, you get less?
Yeah, we hardly get any. I mean, I get mostly drifting snow in my driveway, so I've only snowblowed my driveway twice this year. So
Most people think that in the north you get more.
I'm in the south. Well, I'm in the north, yeah, but I mean it's not. I'm right off Lake Ontario and in between the lakes, so I guess you get more coming off the lake.
Off of Lake Erie.
Come right there in Buffalo. So I'm at that. I'm not in that snow stream or Gulf Stream, whatever they want to call it.
Right. You're in a spot where
it just misses us.
Wow.
And like it could be 5 miles away, and it'll get hit with all kinds of snow, and the sun's out by me, So.
Huh.
Yeah. So there we go.
You're not going to sell your snowblower, are you?
No, I've had it for years. It's working fine. Yeah.
What's your next big purchase going to be?
Probably some new appliances for the house. Probably get a new stove.
Stove.
I have an electric stove now, and we've had it for a long time now, and I'm like, I'm going to replace it with a gas stove, I think.
What is the advantage of gas over electric?
Well, electric, you have a tendency of burning things more, only because once it's heated up, it stays hot, where the gas, you just turn it off and the heat goes away.
See, now this I did not know.
Yeah.
I didn't know this about electric.
Yeah.
You can burn things easier with an electric than you can with a gas.
Yeah, because once the surface is heated up and it's hot, it stays that way until it gradually cools off, where if you turn the gas off, the hot's gone.
So, but can't you turn the dial on the electric to turn the heat down?
You can, but I'm saying if you're getting to that point where, or if you just leave it there, you forgot about it for a second, where you can just turn the gas off. If you leave it on something that's already hot, it'll continue to cook.
I get it. Yeah.
So
Whereas when so the cool down time
takes too
on a
long.
gas stove, it's instant.
Right.
And on an electric stove, it's very gradual.
Right.
Oh, see, I don't know about that. What are some things you've cooked on that stove?
Whatever, possibly imagine everything.
Popcorn?
Yep.
What'd you put on the popcorn?
Olive oil and sea salt.
How'd it taste?
Good.
Would you eat it with just like that?
Just popcorn. Yeah.
Oh.
That's a snack, watching
Watching a movie or something?
movie or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite channel that you watch your movies on?
I have an Android box, so I watch all the free movies I want, and I'm watching movies that aren't even in this country yet, that are that are coming to here, but they're in another country and you can watch them.
Tell me the name of a movie that you think people should look forward to seeing.
I just recently watched a movie. It was called The Green Book.
Yeah.
was
And you
good.
like that?
Yeah.
I did too.
Oh, you watched The Green Book?
Yeah.
Not The Green Mile.
No, Green Book. It's
Green-
about where you can go in the South when you're black and you're trying to find like a hotel or a
Well, he was a
restaurant.
musician. The black guy was the musician.
Right.
And he had an Italian
Driver. Yeah.
and he was kind of like, he did the job because the money was there, but then they became friends, and you know how it goes.
Right.
So it was
So you get to see their friendship grow over
Right,
time,
right.
and how they affected each other's personalities.
right, and the things they did and the things they ate, and
Yeah.
it was a good movie. I enjoyed
I thought so, and it won the Best Picture of the Year award,
Did it?
which I predicted.
Right.
I thought when I saw it, I said, "I bet you this is going to win the Best Picture of the Year."
Yeah.
Now, you know what people said about that movie? That when I heard this, I thought, but here's what they said. We went and looked up the original musician
Right.
and the original driver,
Right.
and we interviewed them, and they said, no, he just drove me around. There was no buddy movie in it at all. We were
Right.
just a business relationship.
Sure.
So how do you feel about that? That this was like fabricated and it wasn't true?
Well, did they claim to be true?
Well, at the end of the movie, they show the original guy,
Right.
So they imply,
But they didn't say this.
they
was
did
like
not say this
based
is
on a true
exactly
story.
what happened.
So, but most movies are not based on anything true. So it's, it was a good movie to watch, and it made the point. It got the point across to everybody.
Yeah. In other words, it was fictional.
Right.
And I was okay with that.
Right.
And so when I see the people saying, oh, well, the movie's no good because it's fictional,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's.
I say, well, there's a lot of things that are fictional, but
Most
still,
things are.
still they're good.
Yeah.
So, so you would recommend that?
Oh yeah.
Anything else you might recommend?
There's a lot of good movies. It depends what you're into. I watched the movie. It was called The Room.
The Room.
Yeah.
Is that where she's being held a captive?
Yeah.
In a room with her kid,
Yeah.
and she's trying to figure out how to escape.
Yep. I found that to be a good movie.
And she
and
escapes.
That was a real movie, true movie.
She escapes by
faking the death of her son.
something. She
Rolled him up in a carpet.
Yeah.
And made him take him out and not to look at him and put him in the truck and take him someplace and bury him. And then he was taught how to roll out of the rug, and he got out of the truck, and that's how it
And
all
then they
ended.
ran away like at a traffic light or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah.
And that's how they got out.
Yeah. Well, that's how the kid got out. She was still there until they finally figured out where she was through him.
Oh, so she
Gave him a little note to give to the police that, and he couldn't, I don't know what happened with the note, but then the police kept asking him questions, and he kind of kept describing, he was looking up. He was in a small room. He was looking
They had
up.
a
He could see
skylight, didn't they?
Skylight. So they did a surveillance with a helicopter to look for sheds with a skylight within that area.
Yeah.
And they found that one shed, and that's how they found her. Well, you've seen the movie,
I saw it, but it didn't really sink in.
right? There's a lot of good movies.
Did you like Bohemian Rhapsody? About Queen? That's how I felt.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
weird, kind of. I don't know.
I thought it was an average movie.
Yeah, I watched that. It was.
Did you like the Favorite?
Refresh me what that was about.
The Queen has a best friend, and the best friend influences the Queen in all of her decisions.
I don't think I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, don't tell me about it in case I want.
well,
to see
that was nominated also, so it
Okay.
was in the running.
There's a lot of. There's so many movies.
Did
I
you
got
like?
that box.
Did you like
that I can watch
Roma?
Roma. Sounds familiar.
It doesn't sound like your kind of movie. The life of a maid living in a wealthy home in Mexico in the 1970s.
I might have stumbled across it and probably didn't. think
I
of
was
it.
wondering if, just by my description, if you're interested
No.
in seeing that.
I might. I don't know.
All right. All
I
right.
don't know.
Very slow moving.
What I do is I go through what interests me, and then after I watch all those, then I go backwards and I go like, well, let's see what this is about, or I try to look at the trailers on YouTube to see what it's basically about.
What about action movies? You got any action movies you'd recommend?
I like action movies. There's a lot of good ones. I really enjoyed. I like science fiction kind of, like Martian. That was a good movie.
Martian, yes. Right, right.
That was a suspenseful movie.
Yeah, he figured out a way to communicate with the people back home
Well,
by putting letters on sticks
right.
and then just keep turning the camera.
Right. Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, but how did they send messages to him?
Well, then that's why he set up. But then they would point the camera. And he had a little pointer on it, and
Oh, they could control the camera.
yeah,
Oh, okay. All right, I get it. All right, all right.
yeah,
So he could, but he didn't. Did he send messages back to them
yeah,
the same way?
yeah.
Okay, all right. So it was like
They laid out the same scenario he had at back on Earth,
Ah.
and then they did the same thing.
Ah.
And then, of course, they could see him, so he could write whatever he wanted, and then they could respond yes or no.
Oh, so
or
he could
whatever.
like write on a piece of paper.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. All right, good, 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 good.
but I think the time lapse was like, 20 minutes per signal or something, or whatever it was.
Oh. And did they give him a way to fix his spacecraft so he could return?
No, there was he did most of it on his own, and he figured out. They were trying to figure out what he was doing by tracking. They noticed that the only reason they knew he was alive was because they moved. He had this Land Rover,
Yeah.
and they seen it, and they were looking at Mars, or yeah, that's where he was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they looked at the rover in one particular spot, and then like the next day they noticed that it's over here. So they figured, and then it was there, and then so they're like, well, he's still alive, you know. And then he figured out how to stay alive, and eventually he was able to communicate. Oh, so we're done.
Say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people. Eat healthy, stay alive, and that's all there is to it.
All right.
Stay on this side of the soil.